Jesse, hey, I'm so glad you could join us for the Acting and Modeling Success Summit of 2012. And I've got a bunch of questions to ask you about Backstage, just so everybody knows. Jesse's a staff editor at Backstage, and Backstage is just an unbelievable, uh, it's an unbelievably wealth of information for actors. And so maybe we could just start off and you can tell us a little bit about what Backstage is all about and what it actually offers actors and models.
For sure. Well, Backstage is it's a very unique publication. It was really the first of its kind, and as far as having a print component, probably still the only game in town. We've been doing this for over 50 years, and we started in New York as a weekly, essentially a trade for actors with all the casting calls, Broadway, off-Broadway. Our name is Backstage. We started with, primarily stage notices, but now we do, virtually everything, every kind of performer, any kind of jobs, film, TV, dance, even reality TV. We tend to, go more towards performance-oriented reality TV when we do those kinds of things. But also entertainment jobs. People come to us, for, to run jobs that they think actors might be good at, to kind of supplement their income when they're getting a start, so, things that, you use your voice for, or spokespeople, because everyone kind of gets their start through Backstage. That's why we still get great people on our covers, because a lot of them were picking us up on the newsstands 20 years ago when they were getting started. So it's really kind of an entree if you're even considering making this your profession and your way of life. It's a great resource beyond casting calls. It's there's an editorial component to it, tax advice for actors when, you're getting how many checks a year, what kind of deductions are you entitled to, you're taking cabs to auditions, just really anything that applies to people that really take their craft professionally, even if you've been doing this for 50 years or you're just getting started.
And so I know people can go visit backstage.com, but is the publication still a weekly?
It is. It's still a weekly, and we're no longer Backstage East and West. For the last several years, we've been a national publication. So we cover notices in all 50 states and even internationally. And like you said, Backstage.com is that's really the place you want to go if you don't have access to the print publication. And being that so much of our our content is time sensitive, I encourage everyone who doesn't have access to a newsstand. Again, you can find us no problem in New York or LA. We're on every corner in most bookstores. But again, we run thousands of notices. Several that I don't see because we have regional editors. Posting content in all 50 states. 24/7. So it's nice to have a print component. Say you're in an area like New York where you can actually take it on the train with you, hop from open call to open call. But if you're not in that position, and say you're in a state where you don't have access to the print publication, an online subscription, you're getting access to thousands of more notices that can actually be put into print, due to constraints of space and time. There's only so many pages of notices per issue, but our website's being, again, updated 24/7 with new content. And
the thing that's also I'm sorry, I was just going to interrupt, because one of the things that's also great about, that I find really helpful with Backstage, especially Backstage.com, I mean, not only is just the information there, but you also have stories. You've got people who are writing blogs, people who are sharing information about their experiences. I mean, well-known actors, people who are kind of like blue-collar actors who are, working regularly but maybe not famous, talking about, different aspects of the industry. And so it's a great resource for people to be able to go to. But, one thing I was wondering, when, you are a staff editor, maybe you could explain to people, what exactly does that mean?
Well, I'm in the casting department, so my title is actually the film and TV casting editor. So any notices that come through our office, we put them in a standard format, and it's kind of nice, to see other competitors and stuff. They've kind of ours is more or less like the official breakdown format. So they can come to us from unions, from individual clients. We source our content from a variety of places, but we come in, polish it up, and make sure that it's, as clear as possible for our readers, how you want to submit, what to prepare, and just kind of, again, put it in in our standard style. If anything's questionable, contact people to make sure there actually is, it's a legitimate call, because, actors are, especially if you're starting out and you don't know better, you are very susceptible to, some shady practices. And, we really pride ourselves. We don't just, we get a notice, throw it on the website, send it to print. We vet to make sure that these are, legitimate opportunities, and, just really keep, our readership in mind. But I just wanted to backtrack for 1 second. You mentioned that, we have people writing blogs for us. I just want to mention that Miss Octavia Spencer was writing for us not too long ago. Last year, I believe, she was one of our Take 5 columnists, and she very likely is going to win an Oscar tomorrow night. So, again, if you want someone to, voices for people that are doing what you're doing, it's a really nice, there's no other publication that really offers those kind of voices. We do our annual Welcome to New York, Welcome to LA issue. It's kind of that stereotype. You're in a new city, you don't know which end is up, and, everyone, kind of wants to, take you for a ride if you don't know better. So, it's just a nice resource for people. But I still can't believe that Octavia Spencer, the year she's had since, she was writing a column for us, she's been working steadily for, 2 decades, but that's still, it's pretty wild. So we're very proud of her.
That is incredible. So I'm curious. So let's say there's a student, like for instance, you went to NYU, and you were, I assume you were shooting films there?
I did, yeah. I was a film and TV production major.
Okay, so let's say you're working on a project. Would you, and let's say you're not working at Backstage at this point, you're still a student. Can a student contact a company like Backstage and say, hey, I'm shooting a student film, here are the breakdowns, here are the different characters that I need to cast? Is that something the Backstage would actually post, or does it only come from professional organizations?
Oh, of course, no. It's I really applaud, and I've noticed it more than even when I was in school a few years ago. It was kind of, you'd hear, oh my gosh, I saw your notice in Backstage, and now I really applaud students that do take the initiative to research, the SAG Student Film Agreement. You can work, with union talent or non-union talent as a student. The student card, really opens a lot of doors for you, and I encourage everyone to not turn their nose up to student films. Because it's real material. You're very likely not going to make any money, but you'll have some fun experiences, be on set, and you'll just get, yourself on film. And you really can't get that, those kind of, leading roles and, major supporting roles if you're just getting started, and say a major feature. You'd be doing background, whereas on a student level, you could be the star and get yourself, that's another camera test. It's just real material. So, I really encourage people to take a look at the student film listings, because, there's always great ideas.
And I tell you, I agree. I mean, not only is it an opportunity to get some incredible experience, but the other thing too is that's how you start building up your acting reel. And what I mean by an acting reel is actors put together short clips of their work. And when you're first getting started, you don't have any clips because you haven't done anything yet that's been filmed. So this will give you an opportunity to be able to use part of that for your acting reel. So if you are asked by an agent or a producer or a director, hey, I'd like to see your reel, well, now you can start building that up. And the other thing too is you never know where that student director is going to be ending up. And that student director that you're working with might be shooting a feature film at some point in the near future.
Yeah, it's great. And again, for how far cameras have come, it could be the worst project ever, but as long as, you look great and it's, well lit, the clip's only going to be however many seconds before you go to the next one. It's really great. What you're giving up in compensation, you're getting something that's really, you can't get through any other way as quickly, or that's going to look as good. And just, I want to throw it out there, never put theatrical or stage works in a reel. When people ask for a reel, they want to see moving pictures. They don't want to see you, on stage with a shaky camcorder. So again, you want to use those skills that you harness on the stage and, bring those to, to work with, students that have access to incredible cameras that look, about the size of a point and shoot, but, look like they're 35 mil. So again, you have access to great technology with the student film as well. So
Yeah, and that's a great point. And so whether the person is at NYU, the students at NYU, or whether they're in some, small college in Ohio, um, things could still be potentially posted in Backstage for people to see. And you're right. I mean, it really is. It's a great opportunity for people to get a lot of experience. Now, I know that there's also Backstage has like a number of other kind of like umbrella um, publications, and one of the publications that is just great is called the Call Sheet. I know they've changed names over the years, but now it's called the Call Sheet. Maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
yeah, Call Sheet, it was formerly known as Ross Reports, and it's our sister publication. It's put out bi-monthly, and it's essentially it's always being updated, between issues. It's always being, thoroughly vetted. It's basically like rewriting the phone book because at a lot of casting agencies, people are moving. They go from agency to agency, or they move up in ranks. So that information is constantly being updated, and it's a directory of agents, casting directors, and resources. We stress that they're not casting calls, but the information is there for you to, professionally, submit yourself, with a cover letter. Most of the listings will say if they even accept, unsolicited submissions, but, say, you're looking for, someone to kind of give you pointers or manage, your child's career. You can look up, and see who kind of specializes in younger talent, in your region. Again, it is nationwide. Most of the content is geared towards New York and LA just because that's where most people are. But, in every city, there's, someone that does these kind of things. And, with all the tax incentives that are being given by other states, a lot of Hollywood films, aren't shot in Hollywood anymore. So you can see who is, your local casting director. So say, when, Twilight comes to town, they're looking for local people. They're going to go to, whoever is listed, say in like Louisiana, that specializes in casting, whether it be for local stuff, when the big guys come to town, that's who they go to. But it's an app as well that's available in the iTunes store. So if you have an iPhone or any, Apple device like that, you can use it interactively, and a lot of digital subscriptions, if you sign up for Backstage.com, you also get free access to the Call Sheet database. So.
And so, so in the Call Sheet, you list, or not you personally, but it lists all the agents in New York, in LA, casting directors, what movies are being shot, television shows that are being shot, who's casting them. And just as a little side note, if you are looking up an agent, read their information very carefully, and it will state that they are looking for, they represent, it might be actors, it might be writers, it could be directors, it could be models, it could be, dancers, but quite often it will say no phone calls, please. And let me just tell you, follow their advice, and their suggestion.
Yeah, you want to use it responsibly. We stress. I mean, it's nice that they, that they give us the information and put it out there. So it's just paper, but with it comes a lot of responsibility. Or it just be the listing. So really do, because the last thing you want to do is burn your bridges. Be faxing them, your headshot, 10 times a day until you hear back. It's it's going to be a lot of silences, and you really need to respect, that this is their job as well. Like, you want it to be yours, it's theirs. Understand if someone was calling you 9 times a day and you didn't have an answer for them. So it's it's nice, and it's great that, again, that it's still that we have these relationships and can because it is such a useful tool. But I really stress that it's something that should be used very responsibly, and put your best foot forward.
And now
think
you
about
also
the cover
have,
letter you're sending.
I'm sorry, I was just going to mention you also have a Facebook page, and once again, it's all up on everybody's monitor so they can see it. Is there different kinds of information on the Facebook page than what they would find at the, the .com page?
Our Facebook page has a lot of stories that go up. It's constantly being updated. Our casting notices. You'll see a feed. That'll give you little previews of stuff that's being constantly updated, and it's a nice interactive tool. People commenting on articles we post, and a lot of the posts lead back to Backstage.com, and there's so much free content on the site that even if you don't sign up for a subscription, again, just the blogs, they're free, the articles on the site, to kind of get a taste, to be like, this is, what you're in for if you're really serious about following this. But also, if you go to backstage.com/newsletter, encourage everyone to sign up for that. It's totally free. It comes out 6 days a week, and it's basically a daily digest of all, the news stories, reviews and stuff that pertains to actors, constant coverage of the SAG-AFTRA merger that's happening, and then every Wednesday and Saturday is the version that I edit, which is kind of like the cream of the crop of casting notices. So you can kind of get an idea of the kind of content that we run before you decide, hey, I want to give this a shot, with like a monthly subscription or the yearly. You can kind of get a taste for, the kind of things that we do. You have nothing to lose by checking us out, but there's a lot of content on there, and we're redesigning the site. It's going to be majorly overhauled, but still, there's so much free content on that site for you to take advantage of.
Hey, Jesse, you had mentioned something earlier, and I don't know if you know the details about this, so if not, just let me know. But when you were talking about student SAG agreements, are you familiar with any of the details of exactly what that entails?
Yeah, well, the SAG student film agreements are really great. It's a kind of like a democratic contract where it allows students to use union talent, and basically it's kind of assumed to be deferred pay. There are certain exceptions to that. There are certain expenses that you will need to pay for, as far as if you go over certain hours. I believe you need to be compensated for meals up to a certain amount, and gas reimbursal, but it's basically a way to just again, at the student level, to start dealing responsibly with people that act for a living. And there are certain terms you need to look it up. You do need to file it with SAG, but you really can kind of use union talent. I don't want to say without paying them, because if you can, you always should give them something, but they're cover meals, cover transportation, and always, if there are any student filmmakers listening today, to give them a copy, because that's what they're working for. They're not there just to give you a project.
And
you
so
want to give them back, and that's what they want for their reel. They want that copy. So
and typically,
union or non-union.
when you're talking about deferred payment, so basically that would mean that if the film, once it's completed, if it goes into distribution and it is being made available for people to purchase or to go to the movie theaters to see, that's when an actor could potentially get paid for doing the work?
Yes, but I stress to anyone that's doing a student film, do not expect that day to ever come, because it by the time the budget's made back, you go into a student film knowing that is very likely not going to happen. But again, it's experience. You do a cost benefit analysis. If you can take the 2 days off and again, get that 35 mil clip, get that 24p clip, something that's going to look crisp and amazing, that you're not going to get from doing something in your local theater, go for it. It's really to your advantage.
Great. Jesse, first of all, thank you so much for being a part of the summit. Everybody, you should check out backstage.com. All the other contact information is right on your screen. Thank you, Jesse.